Oh, shit. All right. Hello, everyone. This is Sergey from Ushanka Show. I was going live and I forgot to turn my light to make this surrounding more attractive. But anyway, I hope we'll have some people joining tonight. I see we have one so far. Please let me know if the sound is okay. So tonight we are celebrating 115,000 subscribers on Ushanka Show. In the summer, usually YouTube is pretty slow, not much going on. Thank you, Lemonator. Looks like it's just you and me right now. No, we got 5 people actually. 5 people, 2 likes already. So we got some people joining. I apologize. I decided to do live tonight on Friday. I think it may be not the best day to do live, but I'm working tomorrow, so I'll be busy tomorrow and Sunday. So today is like a better for me to take care of the 115,000 mark. So thank you so much for joining. Looks like some people finally caught live, so I appreciate that. So the biggest news on Ushanka Show, I don't know if you noticed my posts. Tom Scott. So apparently, I don't know about him at all, but he was because he kind of stopped uploading videos a year ago. But he was a pretty big deal on YouTube. About from 10 years, had almost 6 million subscribers. And I noticed one of my videos about garbage service recently took off. Was a lot of views and people saying Tom Scott sent me over, and I could understand what's going on. Then I looked it up, and yes, he still has YouTube channel, but looks like he got tired of doing YouTube, so he doing something else. But he has like a website, and that's why he recommends different YouTube channels. And Ushanka Show, Raise the Roof was on his list. He wrote, let me see, I screen saved. Ushanka Show is a channel run by Sergey, who grew up in the then Soviet Union and now lives in the USA. He's answering questions in a style that sounds like someone's who is telling stories to a friendly group of in person. And here's a surprisingly engaging everything you need to know about Soviet garbage service. So I want to say thank you so much, Tom, for recommending my channel. I guess you watched some of my videos. If you recommended me, it was a nice surprise. I appreciate that. And let's kind of walk up my channel a little bit because in the summer, things are pretty slow. Not much going on views wise. So, and I'm busy mowing grass, doing other summer stuff. So we're just kind of cruising through the summer. Then hopefully in the fall, we will start producing more content. There's still so much to cover. So some people saying that doing live on Friday is хорошо, it's good. So still, this is a question and answers about life in the Soviet Union. So besides my stories, you can always ask a question, post some stories of yours I can read. So please do that. And my next video will be about Pavlov money reform. So this is like the money reform that touched my family deeply, or not just my family. There were several money reforms in the history of Soviet Union. I was aware of 1961 because all our paper money that we used in the Soviet Union, like these 5 rubles, they were all, let's see if there's somewhere in the corner. Yeah, right here. If you can see or not, but they all had a number 1961. So there were 1961 issues. So pretty much for 30 years, we had a kind of same currency, same rate of exchange. Of course, we did have inflation. And then in 1991, in January of 1991, was the surprise money reform. And they printed new currency, which look quite similar. I mean, if I show you 2 of those, you might even don't see one notice difference, but there is, right? This has more colors, the new one right here. It has the different watermarks and slight design change. And it's the most bizarre. So this is January of 1991. So Soviet Union still exists, right? So this is the back of the original Soviet 5 rubles, and all these writings right here on the bottom. That's 15 languages, 5 rubles in 15 languages, right? So it's a 5 карбованців, 5 рублей, blah, 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 all 15 republics. new currency, still Soviet Union, still around, it disappeared. So it's almost like whoever was in charge, they already Soviet deep state. They already planned for Soviet Union to go bye-bye. So they removed that reference to all the languages. So it still says it's the 5 rubles of Soviet Union, but for some reason they decided to remove all the language reference. So that'll be my next video. It's gonna be pretty big size because there was a lot going on. It's one of those cases my mom still remembers because I was begging them to take money out of savings account and buy dollars. And my mother said this phrase that kind of stuck in my head forever. And she said, "Our government will never cheat on us." Наше правительство нас не обманет. Our state, наше государство нас не обманет. Our state won't, trick us. And she was so wrong, and I was so right. And now looking back, like, man, there were quite a few ways to try to save money, but we did not. So that's my next video coming up. And also, I'll be showing off some new goodies I purchased on eBay. Kind of getting addicted now to different topics. So, all right, let me see what we got. Nick Adams is here. Hello, thank you. Always happy to see you. So we got some people who finally caught my live, so that's great. And maybe we'll try to do more on Friday evenings. Eleanor says, "I'm a huge fan. Thank you for everything you do. I recently finished American Diaries 1996. What an adventure. Thank you so much. I appreciate it." She's talking about this book right here. American Diaries 1996 is my second book. I'm working right now, pretty much finish off my manuscript on 1997. So that's kind of my plan. I will, and the book is available on the website sputnikov.com, signed copies. And actually, I bribe my people who buy my books. I put some Soviet currency in it here and there. So if you bought my book from me directly from sputnikov.com, make sure you go through pages because maybe then in 50 years or 100 years, somebody will be going through garage sale and finding some invaluable currency that was never discovered by readers. So anyway, so yeah, thank you so much. I'm glad you like my book. So next question, Nick Adams, Sergey, is that one of the reasons why they held up money to see if there was newer currency after the reissue? There's a lot was going on. There was like a 3-step money reform, but the main problem was there was nowhere else to save. So you could keep money in the Soviet savings bank, Sberbank, or you can keep it in a pillowcase, right? Под подушкой или в матрасе, in the mattress. So the reform was kind of aimed to it was confiscation reform. So anybody who had too much cash, you have to explain why you have so much cash when you explain, because they set up low limit of just 1,000 rubles cash you can exchange. Anyway, but the main problem was they froze our savings accounts, and when they finally unfreeze them, Soviet Union was gone, and like my parents' savings, their lifetime savings, were enough to buy a loaf of bread. So people lost an enormous amount of money. It's just I can't even. I'll be doing some math, but it's in maybe billions. And if you do it into dollars, and billions, if not trillions of dollars, were lost by Soviet population due to their reform. So. Let's see, another comment from Clovis Miranda. Your videos have been a wonderful source of information, what Soviet life was like. There is way too much nonsense said about that, since the idea of the Soviet Union is ideologically charged. Yeah, I mean, the problem is next comment about I'm scared to death of socialism. The problem with socialism, in theory, sounds great. I mean, most theories sounds great. Like if you read about anarchism, yeah, it makes sense. It's a lot of it kind of cross connects with communism, socialism idea. We don't need government. Like, we don't need police. Why do we need police? If everyone is a good person, we don't need police. We don't need to lock our doors. But in reality, it's just, like socialism is a perfect system for perfect people. It will work fantastic, but you just don't have enough perfect people. So, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I spend a lot of time on Reddit, on the USSR subreddit, is trying to educate people, explain them the realities of life in the Soviet Union, because my goodness, those kids, It's insane. There's so much misunderstanding. It's a free this, free that, free this. Like, do you understand? There's not possible that everything is free. Someone still has to pay for it. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. All right, so I'll continue. So one of my subscribers, I think you maybe remember, I made one video. He inherited a big stamp collection from his grandfather, and he sent me 2 packages. I didn't make a video about his second package, but recently there was celebration, I believe in July 1975, so it's exactly 50 years ago. There was a unique situation when the Soviets and Americans did they docked their space stations, right? Apollo Soyuz. And what's kind of cool, whoa, I'm trying to get this. So he sent me these 2 stamps. This is, of course, American stamps, right? Soviet Union printed exactly same stamps, same design, everything, but it's USSR. I'll need to get those. So that was kind of unique event exactly 50 years ago, this July. And this is kind of like one of the competitions I didn't mind, is a space race. I mean, of course, it still was a lot of money wasted, but at least, it's a peaceful race, not like weapons, Cold War race. So that was really neat. We also had cigarettes, Apollo Soyuz, available in Soviet Union. I think it was like American tobacco, Soviet-made cigarettes. I don't remember. I'm not a smoker. So this is kind of cool thing. So thank you so much. Oh, I'm bad with names. I should remember. I think it was Eric from Oregon. I appreciate it so much. This is so cool. I need to find out a couple of Soviet ones on this topic. Then I kind of get fired up myself. So if you remember, I made a short video about this. I purchased this postcard once again on YouTube on eBay. So this is postcard from 1939 New York Fair, right there. So the New York World Fair, and Soviet Union had its own pavilion, and that was super fancy. One of the most impressive pavilions in the whole that exhibition, that fair, and had a monument, a worker holding a shiny star at night. It shone. So, and this guy said that, hey, this is the best exhibition on the entire thing. So then while I was searching, eBay is really good about recommending other things. So I end up buying this one. I need to make a separate video on this topic. This is really wild. So this is an envelope. It was mailed. Maybe I already make a video. I mean, remember, it was made from Moscow to New York to Brooklyn to Joseph Gulag. And this has a Soviet stamps dedicated to that exhibition. It was sent from Moscow. So it's pretty unique. And oh my goodness, I had somewhere also have more stamps with this also from Eric. So yeah, it's so much history out there right now. It's pretty cool. And then while I was searching, I couldn't say no and bought this envelope, this postal cover. This is pretty insane. So this was mailed in 1972 when I was like 1 year old, or 6 months old, January. I was born in July 1971. This was mailed by Santa Lenin. So it was made from from South Pole, not Northern Pole. It was mailed from South Pole. Right here it says on the stamp. No, Northern Pole. What I'm talking about? What? It says Северный полюс. But Antarctica should be South Pole. That's weird. Северный полюс. If I remember my geography lessons, Antarctica down its south says McMurdo Base. Okay, I need to look it up more. Anyways, it says it was mailed to New York from Northern Pole. So from Santa Lenin in 1972. And 1972 was a big year because it was 100 years since the birth of Comrade Lenin. So it has a stamp and the whole envelope. So I got that onto my collection. So that was pretty cool. So anyway, all right. So let me see if I can catch up with your questions. Anyway, we have 31 people and 19 likes. So if you like this stream, please don't forget to like it. Let's see. We got YouTube added new things to lives. I'm trying to figure out, like, you guys have some crowns right now. Maybe it's based on your comments. Not sure what that means, but so there's a comment from Lucky Strikes. In Yugoslavia, we had the old and the new dinars. For example, 1,000 old dinars converts to 100 dinars. Kind of strange. Well, that's what they did in 1961 in the Soviet Union. They chopped one zero off. I think there's a word for it, like what it's called. It's Slanyu. So that's what. And there was a quiet price increase during that time. So that's 1961, or 10 years before my time. But I think the whole old currency was removed and they had a new currency. Speaking, okay, I have to say you. So unfortunately, I don't have Stalin era currency, but Soviet rubles of 1961 pretty small, right? So they kind of tiny size wise, even like comparing with American dollar. Okay, I have a dollar here. Let me pull it out for you. Just compare for the size, for the heck of it. Or is it? I actually have a brand new ruble, so we can compare with American dollars. So it kind of gives you an idea, right? So how tiny I didn't realize how tiny Soviet rubles were till I saw American dollars. So as you see, American dollar is quite bigger. So that's 1961 ruble. Previous generation, Stalin era, 1947 currency was way bigger. And by the way, I don't know if any of you guys in currency collecting, but these dollar bills, they have a little star. They have some value, more value than normal dollar bills. So if I see one coming along, I set it aside. I have a story about those dollars I'll tell you in a second. So anyway, because modern 1961 currency was so tiny, it got a nickname and was introduced during Nikita Khrushchev time. It was called Nikita candy wrappers because, fantiki. So like candy, it's pretty small wrapper. And Stalin's big currency was called Stalinskie partyanki. If you watch my video about partyanki, the food wrappings, it's a pretty big size fabric. So the nickname for those large ruble bills was Stalinskie partyanki, Stalin partyanka. I just learned it. I didn't know that. And speaking, might as well be story time. So about those star currencies. So when I came to United States, and I basically moved to United States in 2000, 2001, a friend of my, Alex, we kind of were friends since high school, and he was the one who found the program to work on exchange as an exchange student in the United States. He said, "Hey, I'm going to this collector's market, and I see people selling these old dollars, like from 1920s, 1905. Do you know, is it any money?" So I looked it up. Like, yeah, it looks like they have this new site called eBay, and we can try to sell it. So he started buying, not this, okay, this is modern currency, like silver certificates, gold certificates, all this wild looking old dollars in Ukraine and Kiev, and sent it to me. And one of the most like popular, easy available in Ukraine was 1923 silver certificate. So it's a larger dollar bill. It's a bigger than this one, slightly bigger, has a blue seal. So we were buying them in Ukraine for like $5-6 a note. And here I was selling them for like 20, 25. It's a pretty decent margin, right? And then one time I put another one for sale and it went to like $40 or something crazy. And I had no clue why. So I sent message, email to buyer on eBay, and I was like, "I'm sorry, probably I sound extremely like not knowledgeable. But why do you pay so much money for this bill?" And he's like, "Did you notice has a little star?" I'm like, "No." It's like this. Once currency with a star, they cost like twice more. They have way more value. Collectors go after that items. So I emailed right away to my friend, like, "Dude, go back, buy everything, whatever has a star. Try to buy them first, even if they ask a little bit more money, because it's more." So that's how I learned about the stars. Pretty wild. All right, let's see what else we got for your questions here. Uh, Got Yugoslavia. Hello from Montreal, Canada. Oh, got some people from Canada. That's pretty cool. By the way, if you want to mention which state, if you're United States or what country, it's always kind of neat to track people. Not track people. I'm not tracking you, but see where you guys from. So, question: why didn't your brother move to the USA? I wanted him to come and visit back when he was still in school, in high school. And the American embassy refused to give him visa because he's not my direct relative, and I think it kind of broke my brother's back. He just wanted to come and visit, but according to American embassy standards, your brother is not your direct relative. Like my mother had no issue to get visa, and she came stayed with us for a month in 2005. And I tried to get my brother earlier just to stay with us for summer, and they refused. And after that, he's just like, I don't care. So he had no desire, and with American immigration system, it's extremely hard. You need to be like genius, like Melania Trump, or like supermodels, actresses or actors, sports people. They can get genius visas because they have unique skills. For a normal person, it's pretty much no way to immigrate to United States. Like even marriage right now became like there's a people who marry American citizens and they can't get citizenship. Like that one also cut off now. So uh, the only way that's what Trump is also fighting is so-called chain immigration. So technically, I could apply and move my mother here and make her United States citizen. It's what Melania Trump did with her parents. She moved them to United States and made them United States citizens. Then my mom, once she becomes citizen, she could then bring my brother as her direct relative. So we didn't do it. So my mother wasn't interested to move, and my brother either. So they there. Uh, Question from Zaid: how accurate was 1992 movie The Chekist? Thank you. I may have seen it, but I don't remember. I need to check. Usually, after perestroika, like after Soviet Union, movies were more accurate than before. I honestly don't remember. I need to check it out. Let me write it down. 1992 Chekist. All right. Okay. Got that question. There's a comment from and Puka, who is a member of my channel. Thank you so much for supporting my work, by the way. No such thing as a perfect person. I agree with you. I mean, there's maybe 5% of total population that people you can kind of say they're perfect. Like when you see, money on the ground, you found the wallet, you actually find a person and return the wallet with money, you know, stuff like that. So there's people that could be sometimes like a close knit religious communities. They can do something similar to collective farm like kibbutz in Israel, right? So on a small scale, sometimes it works, but on a scale of entire country, it just doesn't work. And there's also, once again, it's just my opinion. I didn't study this topic much. That it's like what there's a successful person who became millionaire, for example. Usually, like third generation, if you don't do anything to protect the money for future generation, the third generation will burn through that money and they'll destroy legacy or destroy all the capital. So similarly, I think people, even like first generation, you were oppressed by the previous regime, so you kind of like trying to build better society. It's kind of what was going on in Soviet Union. So then you kind of willing to sacrifice and live in the crappy conditions because you're building better future for your, kids and your grandkids. Third generation already don't care. Like I'm pretty much third generation, Soviet generation. So we had people who kind of like were born in Tsar Russia and they, were trying to do something different. So that was the socialist experiment. It went horribly wrong. Millions were starved. Millions were sent to labor camps. Millions died in this huge war. So then, second generation, those my parents, as a baby boomers generation, And then it was next generation us, like we really don't care. We didn't care about building socialism. We just wanted to have a normal life. So that's kind of like you run out of people who want to do something and sacrifice for some time to future. Like at some point you think, okay, maybe it's like a religion to tell you that when you die, then you have going to have a heaven, but now you have to sacrifice and live and not a good life because you need to sacrifice for future generations for some future idea. All right, we got Tenerife, Spain. Thank you for joining. That's pretty cool. Next question from David. What do you think about Putin's offer of ending the war if he gets Eastern Ukraine? Just like Hitler said, if he gets Sudeten region, he'll be more than happy to stop expanding German Reich. It's exactly the same thing. There's nothing new. Putin, not long time ago, in 2014, said that we just wanted Crimea and nothing else. Just Crimea historically Russian, and that's what was bothering. We don't need any more from Ukraine. That's his words. I quote him saying it. So yeah, he's just moving the goalpost. When he gets entire Ukraine, and then will be Moldova's turn, then will be Baltic states' turn. That guy, just like Hitler, you can't stop them. You have to stop them, but not you can't, sign some papers and hoping that he will oblige to any agreements. And he said already, not like he wants Eastern Ukraine. He wants the entire eastern, southern Ukraine. So he pretty much wants to cut off Ukraine entirely from Black Sea. So yeah, that's more than that. And all right, what else we got? So next question. Hello, did you know a term called poverty in the Soviet Union because if you had no contact with other countries and couldn't know what poverty and wealth is? Well, we had plenty of information about the horrible life in the United States, and that was almost the topic of every TV program during the news. They will make sure they'll show some people living and sleeping on the streets in the United States to show long lines to unemployment services. So there was a lot of propaganda. Look how life is horrible in the United States, and look how great life is in the Soviet Union. So we did know what poverty looks in the United States, and of course, they never showed us how the rest of the people lived in the United States. So so we were aware in some way. Like they will show us just a little sliver, which is, I totally for helping people who can make on their own. But of course, like my personal opinion, that it should be uncomfortable. If you go to the government, you tell them, hey, I can't make on my own. I need help. My kids are starving. We're about to get kicked out. But in this case, it's my personal opinion. I know some people not don't think like that. It should be uncomfortable. It's like you could tell later, like, man, for 5 years I had to be on a government support, and it was horrible. I had an ankle bracelet. They monitored me. They make sure that I don't, do alcohol. I couldn't drink at all. I couldn't do drugs. I had to be at home every evening, not to be at the parties. So like I don't mind helping people, but I don't like when people try and take advantage of that. Helps because like we have so many people, it just become generational thing. They just live off the social programs without trying to get off. And of course, there's another challenge: the way the system created. Like you are not financially encouraged to move up in like there was story some lady worked at a gas station and she was doing a great job, so owner offered her to position of manager. She took the position of manager and then she lost a bunch of her benefits like her subsidized housing. So she got $15,000 pay increase, or maybe 10,000 or five, I don't know the amount, but her rent jumped 20,000. So she suddenly like, I can't afford to get promotion because now I'm losing all the benefits from the government. So she basically went back to scrubbing floors and doing a lot of stuff because it's just the gap is so huge to move up, and a lot of people just can't make it. I don't have answer to all those questions. I know my life of my parents, and it's that's poverty in a different way. It was a comfortable poverty. We never worried about housing cost. Well, my family did because we ended up buying cooperative apartment, which was 25,000 rubles, and we had a Soviet mortgage. But generally, Soviet families, if you managed to get housing, cost was so little, like less than 10% of your income, so that was fine. But then my family still couldn't afford anything, and most families, like I know my friends, like I don't, there's only one family I knew that had a car, and that's because his dad was a military officer, so they had better pay and they had access to their separate waiting list for cars. So we were like comfortably poor, didn't have to worry about housing. Some basic groceries were cheap, like bread, macaronis, but otherwise, my parents were pinching pennies. Well, my dad was also smoking and drinking, but my mom was pinching pennies, and all they managed to save in 20 years, full-time employer, working full-time, union members, everything else, couldn't afford a car, couldn't afford a second home, couldn't afford even like a boat. They managed to save like 6,000 rubles in 20 years. So that's kind of different poverty. It's a socialist poverty. You make everyone equally poor, and you don't worry about housing, but otherwise, like, you can't afford much anything if you don't do any extra activities to make money on the side. Like my dad could make a lot of money, stealing paint from work, and instead of selling it for vodka, he could paint cars, get paid, and we could have a way better life. But this is kind of more capitalist way. So yeah, we knew about poverty, and my parents, like my grandparents, like that generation, that's like even horrifying, because they worked all their life in a collective farm, literally for free, got little tiny pension. Like my grandma was 12 rubles a month, enough to buy like not even 4 kilograms of butter. So like, picture your pension like in 50 $50. I kind of ran the math on that. So they had to survive off their plot of land. They couldn't buy really much anything. My grandparents had no fridge, no TV, nothing. Outhouse, no running water, and they had to take care of animals to have milk, butter. Had to have chicken. So they live like. Why do you need the government and everything else if you have to like live like Amish, literally? But Amish made the choice. They want to live that way. Soviet people, like villagers, didn't make that choice. The government made it for them. All right. So we got question, comment. Love your show, my friend. I've been to Russia 3 times. Wow. And Ukraine 1 time. Love learning about more love. Love learning more about life in the Soviet Union. Okay, so your guys' crowns is based. I don't know if you see it, what I see it, but your crowns, like Nick Adams, is a number 2 based on the person activity in the chat. So if more you're active, is more you're gonna get a crown. YouTube's trying to encourage you to be more active, and of course, you always can be active by doing likes. You can bribe me with super thanks, and those questions I answer first. But of course, you don't have to. Probably need to do like something. I think I showed you this before. This is my summer activities when I was in the village. So this is 1984. I think I showed this before. That's when it's rainy day. Your grandparents have a TV or any other form of entertainment, and you sit indoors. And I started making lottery tickets. So it's when I was 13. I started making. I made several of them, and they look all exactly the same. So I had a lot of free time on my hand. Copied one for one. So this is all by hand. Made exactly the same, just different numbers. Yep. I made a video on the lotteries. If you know, there's a video about lotteries in Soviet Union, but it's my homemade lottery. Hey, good old times. Had a lot of free time on my hand when I was a kid, that's for sure. So there's a comment. My parents live in Holland, Michigan. Yeah, I think about 40 miles, something north from where I live. There's a Holland, Michigan. I keep telling my mom to keep lookout in case she runs into you somewhere. Well, I was in Holland a couple of times. My daughter actually have a boyfriend who lives in Holland, so she goes there quite often. There's a question about counterfeiting the money. There was some going on, not much. I don't know if it was like worth even bothering, but there were some people that were making fake currency, mostly large bills, like 50 ruble bills. But there was not many of them in circulation. Like the most like popular was Chervonets, 10 rubles. And then, because I remember my dad ever giving salary in bills bigger than 10 or 25. Well, his monthly salary was 180 rubles. So the large currency was not in circulation a lot, like 100 ruble or 50 ruble. People always were suspicious of those because not many were used. Otherwise, yeah, this was most popular kind of large bill currency, 10 ruble and 25 ruble. But I think I have a short video. There was a long video about militia and police in the Soviet Union. There was a part about uh, people making fake money. But it's like, why would you do it? There's a lot of benefits of socialism that really didn't make sense to do that type of crime, because what would you do with the money? You couldn't buy fancy cars, you couldn't buy fancy boats or fancy watches. So like all this stuff that criminals go after in the United States, people who managed to make a lot of money in the Soviet Union, they were buying old gold coins, silver coin, and burying them, or just stuffing cash in the jars and hiding them. So this is like also kind of bizarre. No matter what, people still, even if they steal, it's like it makes no sense even to do this crime. You're risking to spend all your life in prison or even get shot, and you're still doing it. And all you do with the money you manage to earn or steal is buy a bunch of gold coins and bury them in the underground for hopes that one day Soviet Union will disappear and then you can use your money. So that just tells you how pathetic a lot of humans are. They just do crime for crime because really was no reward. It was not worth the risk. Okay, you can buy some smuggled jeans or VCR from the West, but like, is it worth it to go through the drama? It's hard to explain human. So there's a comment that looks like someone from the Soviet Union. Soviet Army drank moonshine from 3-liter jars. I actually got a good story. There's one guy who was in my class in school. So we were in it. I have a video on this topic. So when we go to school at age of 7, and we had the school for 10 years. We didn't call high school, but 9 and 10th grade was like a high school. So everyone had to go through 8 years. There was a requirement. Everyone had to get that basic education. There was 8 years of school. Then you could leave and go to trade school, or you can actually just go and work. So you have unfinished, kind of called unfinished education, неполное среднее образование, unfinished middle education. So about 50% of kids would leave. And then they will combine classes. So we had 4 8th grade classes, so 30 kids each, then 50% left. And then they made 2 classes in the 9th grade. So we had other class combined, and that's the guy came from parallel class. So I didn't know him before. He was pretty smart, but he ended up dating a girl from our class. She got pregnant, and that was kind of bizarre story. That's a sex education in Soviet Union. Someone told that guy that there's a specific position you can do your girlfriend and she will never get pregnant if you, I don't know, make a pretzel of her. I don't know what you do, but in that position, girls don't get pregnant. Guess what? She got pregnant. So he couldn't get into college because it was the way to avoid military service. So we were basically getting out of school at the age of 17. So you have one try to get into college that summer. So you finished the 10th grade in May, then you have June or July to pass tests, exams, and get into some college. If you fail to get in, which was pretty hard, because you don't have to pay money, but you have to be smart enough to score higher than other people. Then the next year, when you turn 18, army will snatch you up. I guess some could have a second try, but so he didn't make to college. Army took him, and since he had already a kid, he got his girlfriend pregnant when she was still in school, but then she graduated, gave birth. They didn't send him far away. He served nearby Kiev, and he served at a military airfield. And that's that story about people that airplanes that were alcohol was part of it. So they used them, I think, for windshield wiper fluid. And that was an issue because people were getting drunk, and that's how he became alcoholic. That they were stealing that alcohol, pure alcohol, and drinking it. And he came from those 2 years in military, like he went like a slightly nerdy kid, came back total alcoholic. That was sad. But he was saying that it was so bad. There were, people like opening little those valves and having shots while pumping alcohol on the plane. So they were making them constantly yell that flow is stable. Like you have to say nonstop, so you don't have time to get a drink. So they figure out just to spill some and sniff it, and they were getting drunk just from sniffing that alcohol. There's just stories are wild, but I felt bad for the girl because she was really pretty. I had a crush on her before. Ira, yeah. And then she guy was, decent guy until he came back from military service, and then he was never the same. That was bad. I don't know if he ever fixed that problem and stopped drinking, but all right. So we got the Washington here, Montana, Oregon, California, San Francisco. Some people are 2 hours south, so probably Indiana. So the question, Sergey, did you see the Red Dawn here on the States or in Ukraine? I know I never watched that movie. For some reason, the whole idea of Soviet army trying to occupy United States just didn't click. And I think if I remember correctly, Soviet media was kind of like really making a lot of anti that movie propaganda. So I was like really pissed that how's that even somebody would imagine we would never occupy any other country. So I never watched that movie, by the way. Bad enough there was the Rambo was make me angry, and of course the boxing part, so Rocky, right, was the boxing, and then of course Rambo in Afghanistan. That those movies made me mad because it made my Soviet blood boil. Like, how do you portray us like aggressors? Yeah, Soviet propaganda did a good job on me. And we got my first donation. Thank you so much. Let's see. So that's one of my supporters, CDM Doc 87. I just visited Barron County, beautiful place, kayaks in Joe River, and bent a rim on my car. The roads, especially Warren Wood Road, is terrible. I agree. I ride my bicycle and around those roads, crossed Warren Woods Road quite a few times. I did kayaks in Joe River too. Many years ago with my son, we launched our canoe in Berrien Springs, where the dam is, and we traveled about 3-4 hours. It's kind of easy, lazy kayaking. And one of my things on my bucket list is to do whitewater rafting. But I really like, I live in Southwest Michigan, learning to use my palm like a Michigander. I really like the area. I would like to actually move more up north around Harbor Springs, Traverse City. So summers will be slightly colder. It's crazy hot right now, 91 and high humidity. Just really can't do anything outside. But yeah, otherwise I really like here. I like winter still. I don't mind shoveling snow. I like winter change, season change. So that's pretty cool. And thank you so much for your support and donation. I appreciate it. Let's see what else we got. Got a little conversation between people here on the chat. As I told you, my strange dream is I hope there's people who meet and maybe we'll get married and they'll invite me for their wedding. Hey, we meet on the Ushanka Show live chat and we're getting married. Why don't you come and have a wedding speech? That'll be so cool. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's pretty neat. Okay, let's see what else. We got from New York. Thanks for taking the note about the movie. Great channel that answered many of my questions about Russia. Best wishes. Thank you. Appreciate it. Let's see. What else we got? We got Philadelphia, Manila. That's North Georgia. Let's see what else we got. So yeah. Airplane juice. Yeah, that was actually I'm also planning to make a video on the topic, although that I think Guy Paper Skies kind of covered it, but that was kind of interesting story that I knew a person that get there really, it's kind of funny but not funny because he came back actually when he was still during his military service. So his wife went to see him, and one time she asked me if I want to come and see him too. I was like, yeah, sure, might as well. So I traveled with her, and it was kind of hard to get to that military outfit, but yeah, it was kind of sad because I saw him. He was in sports and doing good in school, and suddenly I see this guy. He was still wearing uniform, but I could tell by his look on his face, because it's a recognized look of my dad's face. Like, oh, dude, this guy is becoming alcoholic. So yeah, that was kind of awkward. And I said I had a bad crush on that girl in the 8th grade. So 2 year prior, we sat at the same desk, and yeah, I really like her, but I was too shy, too nerdy. So she moved on, and now it's like she's with other guy. And I think she tried then to kind of hooked up with me, and like, yeah, no. So, anyways, yeah, those things are kind of coming back. All right, we got another donation from another my supporter, Koala 1203. Thank you so much. Greetings, Tavarish Sergey. How's this Michigan summer's been? This summer was pretty bad. Bad in the regards it's so hot. We have high humidity, Canada smoke. Today is pretty much you can only go outside early morning or late evening. I'm trying to stay in shape, so I have an electric bike now. So in the evening you can ride the bikes. Like running is too hot, but biking is not too bad. You do a little sweating, but it's pretty insane. It's really hot. The only positive thing, you don't have to mow grass that often. As one of American things I had to learn is to mow grass. That was a big challenge. So yeah, that was kind of thing. So otherwise, we went swimming quite often. I try to go as much as I can. I like spend time on the beach. So once again, yesterday I took my grandson on the Silver Beach in St. Joe, middle of the day, and that was a bad idea because sand was so hot you can't walk barefoot. You have to wear flip flops just to walk to the water. But water was nice and warm, like 73 degrees Fahrenheit. So that was great. We enjoy it, but otherwise, yeah, it's too hot. This is kind of, I cannot imagine people living south of me because I'm kind of northern Michigan, northern United States, and it's so hot here. I can't imagine people down Tennessee, Kentucky, Arizona. I don't like hiding from summer indoors. I like to be outside. Yeah, that's pretty bad. I don't think it's going to get any better because when I used to go back to Ukraine, summers in the northern Ukraine, where I spent every summer, was pretty cold. It's like northern Michigan, I say weather. A lot of days was raining or just cold and raining. I mean, we had some nice days too, but and now I go when my mom used to be in the village. It's like every day is a sunny, hot day. I was like, man, I would kill for weather like this when I was a kid. But I could tell that everything is changing. Like little creeks dried out that it used to be. There was a little lake that I remember was gone now, is overgrown just with grass because uh, our river level dropped, so it's changed a lot. So I think it's some kind of global warming going on. It's a question how much the human activity helps it or not, but it's definitely, I could tell by northern Ukraine it's different now. Like I never seen dry grass along the river. Now that's the case, so it's pretty wild. So that's my summer. Question. It was, yes, there was Dima, but different Dima. Dima that I talk a lot, and that we spent summer in the village. My mother and his mother grew up in the same village in the same area in the same street. so they knew each other. So when we went to spend summers with grandparents, we were next to each other, so we were hanging out. So I saw him only in the summer. This guy was in school in Kiev, so that's a different Dima. Dmitry Dima was a really popular name and still is. It's probably like top 10. Sergey, Nikolai, Dmitry, Vyacheslav, Slava, Igor. So that's like, there's not a big selection of boys' names back in Ukraine, back in the Soviet Union, back in Russia. Let's see what a question. Have you heard about any of the Soviet rock bands during the Afghan war? For me, that's my favorite music genre. Some of the bands were Kaskad, Contingent, Голубые Береты. I'm surprised they aren't known. Голубые Береты, I remember those. Well, the problem with those bands that were singing Afghan songs, it's just like a specific genre doesn't apply to a lot of people. So people who went through Afghanistan, of course, it touches their hearts and they listen, they sing, they cry. For general population, if the music is not, quite often those a lot of songs that have a really good lyrics, the tune music is not that great, and that's what most people are looking for as the entertaining part. I remember Голубые Береты. Actually, if you're interested in really good songs about Afghanistan, Alexander Rosenbaum. That's the one has a famous song "Черный тюльпан," Black Tulip. He has quite a few songs on Afghanistan. I think he passed away. I'm not sure, but I just tap his name. You can look him up if you understand. It sounds like you understand Russian. That's kind of one of the best. I still can remember the tune. Like he was good lyrics and the songs. And he went. I think he went with concerts to Afghanistan during when the Soviet troops were still there. As a comment, few things I hate more than mowing grass. It's interesting. It grew on me. I couldn't understand. I hated it. I remember my father-in-law, who passed away now, my late father-in-law, was getting kind of a little bit upset because we were moving. We had a small house we were renting, and he would come like, "Why you don't mow grass? I gave you a push mower." And I was like, "Oh, it's not tall enough to mow." Like in my understanding was I need to be like knee high to bother. So it definitely couldn't understand. I just had to do it because I was told you need to. My wife like, come on, you gotta mow grass. My wife is an American. And then over the years, I noticed like, oh, my grass is too tall. So now I don't say I'm like a really hardcore grass guy. I actually like to have different. So backyard, I don't spray to make just the green grass. So I have different wildflowers growing. Sometimes I let it grow slightly taller. And I found I got on the hill backyard right now. So this is part of my exercise. I just use the push mower. It's self-propelled, but it takes me about, if I want to do everything at once, the whole backyard, it's about 2 hours, 10,000 steps. So I just put earplugs and just walk, thinking my thought is. I find it is kind of like activity is just kind of, I turn my mind off, or I think about okay, what should I do, write in my book. So I used to hate it. Now I don't say I like it, but it's just my kind of that zone, whatever the expression is. I'm going to zone and I just go and mow, and it's good exercise. Like, yeah, I can run around the neighborhood, but I can mow grass, do exactly the same thing. And if I want to make it harder, I'll go up and down instead of parallel on my hill, which I did last time, and I got really great exercise, a good 10. So it's kind of funny how this thing changed on me. We got another donation in Canadian dollars. Thank you, Andre. You always great support of my channel. I appreciate that. So single mothers got it easy in USSR compared to religious countries. It was very bad in England, especially in the workhouses. It depended, of course, on mothers and the situations. Like the friend of mine, Dima, that my village friend, like he was a single mom. It was a pretty ugly story. Guy was basically was an officer, military officer, and he lied that he was single. He was already married, had a kid in Russia, and then he ditched her and left. So she never got remarried. He was only kid, and she was single mom, but she was getting really good child support because he was a military officer. The guy didn't want to do anything with him. Like they went once because Dima wanted to see his father, just to meet him. Otherwise, yeah. But uh, I cannot tell you percentage wise. Most of my friends had full families, even the families maybe were dysfunctional. But that was the only friend of mine that I knew that was a single parent family. And another friend of mine that was so they were married, but she had a kid from first marriage, and then they got married and had another kid. So that was kind of slightly unusual. Have a stepchild situation. Usually, although divorces, like statistics, they say divorces were super high. I think maybe people divorced but still live together because the split apartments was really hard and getting different apartments. So because of the housing, like my family eventually divorced, but they still live together in the same apartment because there was no way to get another apartment. So that's the case. So the question from Svetlana, another my supporter, by the way, it's right behind me, right? Where is it? There's my key. There you go. That's her present for my birthday several years ago. She got me exactly the camera I used to have for many years when I came to America in 1995. Oh yeah. So that's her present. She lives in UK and she found a model exactly similar like mine. My camera unfortunately broke, and my brother back in Kiev sold it. So anyway, so now I have it. So yeah, the question. I don't know if I'm allowed to ask. Well, Svetlana, you do allowed to ask. You have some bonus points here. Let's see. If I'm allowed to ask if you know if that girl of yours is okay. Yeah, she actually is fine. She's alive. My goodness, trying to remember. I think she ended up having two kids. I don't remember. Maybe just one. But anyway, so yeah, they end up getting divorced, splitting with her husband. I believe right now she moved to the United States somehow. I don't know how, but I had through the grapevine that she's somewhere in Texas. So she probably got married and moved to the United States. A long time ago, way back when I came to the United States, she actually sent me a letter. It was a little bit awkward. She came. My wife went to Kiev in 2001. I couldn't go yet because I had issues with my papers. So I was working through this whole painful process of getting American citizenship, so I couldn't travel. But she wanted my parents to see their first granddaughter, Sasha. It's actually a picture. So this is a second trip. So she was a baby first time she went to Ukraine, and then we went again 2002, I think. So that's when I could travel. So Ira came and she gave my wife a letter to give it to me. And my wife knew that I used to have a crush on this girl. So that was a little bit awkward, but she was kind of like asking, "Hey, I really don't like you here in Ukraine, and I think I will maybe have a better life in America. Can you see if you can find me some American guy to marry?" And I was like, "Sorry, I can't help you in these regards." And it was kind of awkward. My wife was not happy. It's still like when we sometimes, you sometimes argue or tease each other. So that's my kind of thing. If my wife will start, giving me a hard time, I don't know about I need to vacuum or something else. I'll just I should marry Ira instead of you, and I will spawn her off. It's hilarious. So just kind of so she's doing okay. So I didn't see her for many years, but yeah. Anyways, it's but yeah, that was the only positive thing from that crush. I mean, it was bad. And I know it was bad because I wanted to go to school. I hated weekends. Well, weekends, we went to school 6 times a week, right? So we only had Sundays. I hated Sundays in the eighth grade, so it's 85, 86, because on Monday I could be sitting on the desk next to Ira. on Sunday I'm not there. And so like I hated weekends. I wanted to go to school. My grades collapsed. But every day I was counting to go to school, so I sit next to her. It was pathetic. But if I will be more proficient, I probably also will be told that there's a position that Ira won't get pregnant, and my life story will go completely different direction. So there's always a good news, bad news, and I guess I read somewhere it's good not to marry your high school sweethearts because they can have there's like this image out there. They're always young, they're always pretty. You don't see them with you getting old, getting out of shape. So I don't know. It kind of sounds bad, but it is what it is. So I was like, yeah, I guess it's like, oh, Anyways, and yeah, she was really pretty. She was the prettiest girl in class. I think in the whole eighth grade. So it's one of the reasons I was really shy to do any moves because just like I know everyone was after her. But yeah, she thought she was dating decent guy. It was good, but then the Soviet army messed him up really bad. It was sad, really sad. Um, what is worse, socialist USSR or Islamic Iran? Well, you see, the Soviet Union went through a lot of different stages. I would say, of course, Brezhnev era Soviet Union was better than Islamic Iran, but if you look at the Stalin era situation, it's definitely, I don't know. Do they have labor camps and then they arrest? It's pretty much same level. When trying to escape Soviet Union could get you shot. Like it was first, like I was. Oh my goodness, I don't have. So I found this new book. I gotta make a video about it. I just finished listening to it on YouTube. It has it in Russian, not in English. It was published in English too. It's called Russia in Chains by Ivan Solonevich. This is like earliest Gulag camp era. So it's not. He got arrested in 1934. So they got 8 years of labor camps for attempting to leave Soviet Union, for attempting to escape. And later it was get worse, and they changed it that you could get even executed for trying to leave the country. You know, so that was that bad. So that book is really cool. If you can find it, I would strongly recommend. So this is 1934. So like a lot of people talking, blah 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 about Solzhenitsyn and Gulag Archipelago, but it says post World War II because he got arrested like 1944. So he experienced Gulag labor camp after was already working for almost what through 30s, 40s, almost 20 years. So that was kind of end of it. These guys were just an initial start when it was not. People were mostly sent like in the northern Russia, Hungersk region. So if you're interested, I think it's called Russia. He has several books, but he managed to escape, which is less or nearly impossible already in 1930s. Russia in chains. And not just him, he was arrested, his brother and his son, and they all three managed to escape. It's quite a story. It's pretty impressive. By Ivan. And he was pretty active in immigrant circles later in the Western Europe. He actually thought that Hitler was a good guy that will help to you know restore Russia to its former glory, which was, of course, dumb. Then ended up moving to Argentina, but he wrote quite a few books. But this account is actually his experience of how he got arrested, how they spent time in labor camp, and how they were determined to escape and managed to escape. A pretty cool story. I enjoyed it a lot. All right. The question about Alexander Razbaum. I don't know about SpongeBob theme, but he has a lot of songs. I got hooked up on Alexander Rosenbaum when I was in the United States, believe it or not. I never liked his songs back home. But when I came to America in 1995 for the very first time, I don't know if I managed that mentioned that in my English book, 1995. I have it somewhere. She wasn't prepared. But I started having cravings for Russian language. Just, when you suddenly in this environment when everyone speaks English around you, it's just really hard on your brain. And was another guy working, Andrei, so he gave me a tape, and I started listening to that tape over and over again. And he had a lot of like these criminal songs, and I don't know, it just clicked with me at that time. So I don't know about SpongeBob, but he's like a, they call it in Russian, bard. So he just guitar pretty much and singing. I liked him a lot. I still like him a lot. I remember a lot of his songs. What American band did you like when you came to United States? We were mostly into the European bands like Scorpions. A lot of like we like a lot of techno disco music. So American songs really didn't click with me much. I mean, Michael Jackson, I would say that'll be probably what most people in Soviet Union liked, or post-Soviet Union era. That's for sure. And then, of course, I worked in the camp for inner city kids from Chicago, and they play rap music 24/7. And I was about to commit suicide. It was driving me nuts. If you read my book, you may remember that story. But then I later on, I kind of got, and I started liking Tupac. And 1995, it was crazy. The most popular song they played all the time was "I've Got Five on It" by Lunits. I didn't know the name of the song. I didn't know what they're singing about, but it was this beat, doom doom to doom doom to doom doom. My goodness, that was like somebody was hammering my head 24/7. So that was pretty crazy. So that's kind of what it's like. Kind of interesting that every year I came to the United States, 95, 96, 97, 98. I learned about popular songs because at camp they'll be playing, but of course there was mostly, R&B. So every time, there'll be like there's Aliyah, toom toom, doo 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 doom. The whole camp will be doing that. They're like, oh, that's a new song now, popular. 97, I believe, was "I Believe I Can Fly" by Kelly. So everyone was singing that. So that was kind of crazy that I have a song for every summer I came to work here, because that's what Camp Rosenthal was rocking onto, is not the country music or whatever. So every year I had a memory of the song. Let's see. All right, we got some more donation. Thank you so much, guys, for supporting Koala. Thank you again. Another question, another donation. Appreciate it. Have you met any Ukrainian refugees in Michigan since 2022 invasion? How was the encounter like? I haven't met anyone. I was helping some people. Like, I have a Russian language YouTube channel, and I had people contact me who were coming through that program. They were asking me questions because there was some religious group helping. So they were asking like some areas in northern Michigan. So I was trying to get them information how to get there from Chicago. But otherwise, like, I don't know if we have. I think we have some maybe, but they're all like they went through the Adventist program, and so that's kind of on the religious side. So I haven't met anyone. Uh, where I live is pretty much all American countryside here. And we got a donation in pounds from Svetlana from UK. Good to know here is well, Sergey. I'm seeing a lot of people on eBay selling more and more Soviet items. Apparently, people are emptying their sheds. Well, it's just a generational change, unfortunately. A lot of people that kept stuff now, their kids inherited or grandkids, they don't want it, so they get rid of it. So that's sad thing, but it's just realities of life. So yeah, there's maybe some stuff will be cool stuff coming on eBay. Uh, I made a video a while back. Like, I had a one subscriber from from Ushanka Show. He lived in Battle Creek, and he invited me to visit his place. And his basement, he has a huge collection of military uniforms from Soviet Union, like insane medals, weapons, insane collection. That was so cool. And he passed away a couple of years after that. Unfortunately, being busy with my schedule, I wanted to back again. He invited me to come over and shoot guns, and I never had a chance to do it. And then he passed away, and then I was trying to call him. I didn't know he died, so I called him several times, left messages like, "Hey, I'm available," and there was no answer. So I'm like, "Okay, something happened." And then, totally by accident, I noticed on the newspaper. We still get this free newspaper here, and it says there's like large ammo auction going on, like a Soviet, one of the biggest collection of Soviet goods, whatever. And he had these rare pistols, rare guns for sale. Well, not him, but his estate. And like, holy cow, that's the guy. So he passed away, and his wife was unloading. I believe his collection was worth millions. Like he had actually actual items like were worn by like Stalin, by generals like marshals. Like I was like, man, I was like, I think it's fake. He's like, no. So he had the way. He went to Moscow, Russia, like the early '90s when people were desperate for dollars, and he had contacts, and there was like relatives, like one of the Stalin's bodyguards, his grandkids found a bunch of uniforms that he kept. So he had like a summer uniform of Joseph Stalin in his collection, like Yezhov's uniforms. Insane. Like I was like, do you know what is like? Yeah, I think my collection is the most like best collection of Soviet uniforms in the United States. And I was like, do you know roughly? I was like, yeah, about $3 million. I was like, holy cow. So yeah, he had this little. I'm not a gun guy, but he had this little tiny pistol that I never heard of, and that was like what Soviet generals wore. So that was insane. All I could do, I just tracked the prices when I looked at the results of sales. Like, wow, I couldn't even touch that stuff. That was pretty wild. Yeah, but yeah, I met him only once. He gave me some stuff. I don't want to mention words because I don't want YouTube block my thing. Remember last time I showed my thing, and the YouTube blocked my live. So yeah, he gave me some stuff, and I still got his pilotka. So unfortunately, yeah, we should hang out more. He really enjoyed my channel, um, and yeah, but it's the second time I missed out. So there's another story, but as an American guy, was nothing to do with YouTube. So we have this house in our neighborhood, and I when I run or walk, I was like always looking at the house. Man, this is so cool. It's a two-story solid brick house, which is rare. Most houses here in Michigan, this is stick built, wooden homes. This is like from 1800s or something. Like has a wooden break out house. Break. So one time I was walking by, and I was like, I see the guy outside, like really old man. And I was just like, hey, I just want to let you know that your house look amazing. It's just so cool. There's probably a lot of history behind it. She's like, yeah, if you want, come on in. We can chat, have a cup of tea. So I text my wife just in case, like, hey, this is the address. I'm going inside of this weird, cool house with a weird old man. So in case I don't come back in 2 hours, this is the address. And the guy's first name was Lester. So it's already, like, and it was really bizarre. Cool guy. Apparently, he was never got married. Later, I was told that he was gay, so he was always single. Somehow, he always had money. He never updated his house. I don't know how many years he lived in the house. He only had a cold water in the kitchen, so he had no. He used outhouse, and he had a bucket in his bedroom for nighttime. Otherwise, he used outhouse. So he never bothered to install plumbing in his home. So that's already weird, right? But then, as it turned out, he kept diaries every single day of his since he was 8. Like I keep diaries, and told you many times, but I like to keep diaries when I was in the village. That was my heaven. So I had this book that my uncle, who used to work at the printing factory, was stealing. So I kept diaries for years since 1980s, but only in the summer. I just wanted to write down all my cool stuff I did in the village. That guy wrote every day, like every day since he was 8, and he was in his 80s. So he had these books of his diaries for every single day. And then he will cut off some newspaper inserts in there too. So, of course, me being like totally unprepared, I was like, can you look at the July 14, 1971? He's like, why? I was like, well, that's the day I was born. I should ask about like June 22nd, 1941, when Germany attacked Soviet Union, or some other big historical date. I'm just like asking for my birthday, and he's like, "Oh my God, July 14th was my mother's birthday. I went to her birthday that day." So he went to his bookcase, he got his, and he read me what happened on that day, July 14th, 1971, in Michigan, when I was born in Kiev, Ukraine. And he invited me to come back. And once again, I was busy. I had his phone. And for years, I was like, man, I need to come back. I need to talk to the guy. I need to get all these videos with him, maybe take pictures of his diaries. And then he's like, yeah, I'll write that in my diary today that I met you. It was nice to meet you, all that stuff. And he had this old British china. And he said he now has to order those books for keeping diaries out of United Kingdom because they don't make them anymore in United States. So really cool guy. I mean, weird guy. And then I see a sign, estate sale, and it was him passed away, and everything was sold off on estate sale, and I had to work that day. So unfortunately, I couldn't track what happened to his diaries. I got a number of some distant relative who inherited stuff. He never replied. Then, when his place was purchased by Chicago people, I actually talked to the builder who was remodeling. He let me in, so I kind of walked around, hoping maybe I asked if he didn't know anything. So that's another thing I missed big time. I feel sad about it because that was really cool. Actually, I will upload if you think you're interested to listen to him. I will upload that video on my channel. Uh, so that was kind of two people that had a really interesting historical background, collection of stuff that we kind of clicked. As one thing my wife tells me a lot, like, hey, old people like you a lot, and like, because you're old in your soul. Like, I don't know if I'm old in my soul, but it definitely I click because I'm interested in their story. I'm asking those questions, and people like that. So anyway, so yeah, that was I kind of feel bad looking back. Like, man, I should go to Battle Creek like every month to take more pictures, make more videos, get more stories out of the guy, because yeah, that was so. Yeah, some collectors snatched those up because uniforms didn't go on auction, only weapons. And that was, he had Mosin Nagans, snipers, and the revolvers, Nagan revolvers, and those shit. I don't remember the name, little tiny thingy. So that was pretty wild. Oh, did you hear Trump is going to meet Putin in Alaska next Friday? Do you think anything is going to come out of it? I never heard they're going to meet in Alaska, but that'll be interesting because that's another part of Russia that Putin wants to return is Alaska. So that'll be hilarious if they will come back and suddenly, just like Epstein files, we're like, yeah, you know what? We don't need Alaska. You don't need to see Epstein files. There's nothing interesting. You don't need Alaska. We just lose money. Why don't you just give it back to Russia? I won't be surprised. So yeah, that's pretty wild. That'll be interesting if they really do it in Alaska. I never heard that news, but I'll be curious to see that. So there's a comment from Cat Lady. Greetings from Bosnia. Many of your stories remind me of my childhood. Question: what hobbies did you have in the USSR? Hey, great question. I have a video about it, but there's my hobby right here. There's my album. Почтовые марки, postal stamps. It's actually right now most of it, but yeah, I was collecting stamps. That was my main hobby. And we had to make a deal with my friends because like if we all collect the same topic on the stamps, then we won't be able to exchange, because you could buy like a package of 100 stamps for 3 rubles, and then you can trade. So like if we all collect the same topic, we won't be able to trade. So I picked animals and plants, flora, fauna. Other guys, now I'm like, man, I wish I picked that boring topic, like Soviet space or something else. So, but I think I showed you before, but once again, this is the coolest stamps I have. Cuba ones right here. Oh, I'm showing you. So there's doggies, right? There's Cuban stamps, and they have a really interesting story. Whoa. My godfather, so he was a co-worker of my dad. They worked together in Antonov Aircraft Factory in Kiev. So when I got baptized at the age of 2, he was godfather. Actually, I need to make a video. My mom told me a story about baptizing. It's a pretty cool story. Non-religious family still decided to baptize me. In the early 80s, maybe late 70s, uh, they were sending people from the aircraft factory to Cuba for 1 year to help doing something there. I'm not sure what. And unfortunately, my mother didn't let my dad go. I tried to get an answer from her why. She says she doesn't remember. But anyway, but my godfather, his friend, went and spent an entire year in Cuba. He sent us postcard. I still have that postcard somewhere. But also, he knew that I'm collecting stamps, so he sent me the stamps from Cuba. It was so cool. No one else had those there, and of course, the way the Cubas, CUBA, they looks like Cyrillic letters, so we read it as Suva. There was always that stamp, Suva stamps. So that was like I was so thrilled. Like he made an amazing present. Yeah. So those stamps, like man. And then when he came back, he brought so many goodies, and he gave me as another present. There was a big box of Agent 007 toys made in Hong Kong. It was plastic, once again, guns and all kind of spy stuff. It's just like there's binoculars, little binoculars that you look straight, but there's a mirror that you look to the left, and there's a little plastic bullet you can shoot people. Like you come in and pew. Then it was a one gun that squirt water at you. Then it was a that was so cool. Like he did really my childhood was unique because I had this cool set that no one had. It was like you couldn't buy it in Ukraine, and I kept those for a long time. Of course, later I lost it, but there was like a little lighter that also shoots the bullets. You're like, hey, you want to sleep? I killed you. So yeah, that was neat. He passed away too. He had a stomach cancer, had surgery, died 6 months later. But yeah, he brought really cool shells. We had those like on our display in our apartment. So he brought a bunch of goodies. Yeah, they were good friends, but also they both were drinkers. My dad and his buddy. So yeah, those are good stories. That's one thing that was on my bucket list is to visit Cuba. But this whole American policy, you can go, you can go, you can go, you can go. Apparently, you still can travel, so that's kind of I'm thinking about doing it. But now with this whole Trump policies of traveling, and I just don't want to take chances because I'm one of those American citizens that became citizens through marriage. So now it's like you never know if you cross the border if they're like, oh, you know what, we changed the law now. You're not allowed to live here anymore. So I don't know. We just kind of bunker down for now, see what's happening. So, but yeah, collecting stamps is just an excuse to invite girls to show them the collection. No, it isn't. I even don't know what girls were collecting, honestly. Like, honestly, don't know. I don't think they were collecting stamps. Maybe some. I honestly have no idea. Dolls, maybe, but really collecting like boys. Some kids collected probably maybe coins, but once again, get foreign coins was nearly impossible in Soviet Union. Uh, Boys collected also the chewing gum wrappers. Like if you get Wrigley's, Tutti Frutti, all those wrappers from tourists. We were trading those. Some were collecting them hardcore. I had a weird hobby. I think I showed before. Like I was ultimate nerd. Like there's some my wife talking about something me being on some kind of spectrum or whatever. Like I like to record the unusual license plate numbers. Like in the first, second grade. So I'm 8-year-old and I'm walking around like, oh, this is a cool license plate number. I had a list, car, model of the car, color, and what license plate it had. I can't explain it. It's just probably if I'll be a kid now in modern day America, I'll be on some kind of medicine for that. But it's I always was like numbers. Like when I went through my diary a couple of years ago, started reading, and I was like, oh my god, there's right here. So I was keeping it from 1982 all the way till 1990, and then we went to Azovsky in 1985. but they helped me to remember what happened so many years ago. But what I wrote down was this: went mushroom hunting, and I'll write how many different mushrooms we got. Went fishing, I won't write about weather or what was going on. It's just like we caught so many of this fish, so many of that fish, so many of that fish. So it's obviously I have something in my brain that is not right, because I was all about how many of this, how many of that, how many meters to this. So it's pretty wild. Anyway, but it's better now. I recovered from that number craziness, but I still sometimes watch when it's 22, 22, 22 on my watch. I use military time. So there is something there, but I successfully went without any medicines, and it helped me with my grades. Helps with my jobs because I really good keeping numbers. I have a neat handwriting, although I'm a guy who got switched. I'm a lefty, but in Soviet schools you have to write with the right hand, so I was switched to the right hand. Yep. So anyway, all right, guys. So we're already talking for almost hour and a half, so I'll be probably wrapping up. Losing my. Did your family collect compost in the Soviet Union? No, everything went to trash. There was no reason to collect anything. All the garbage, trash or garbage, went in the same bucket, and we dump it in the chute, and it went down. And out in the village, and they had a cow manure and chicken manure. That's what they use for the gardens. But yeah, we didn't do any recycling besides the bottles because they were had a deposit money on it. So we had that. Because yeah, I basically imagine paying $2. Like if you make $1,500 a month, you pay $2 bottle deposit, glass bottle deposit. That's pretty much what was the cost of deposits in Soviet Union. 20 kopecks when you make 150 rubles a month. So deposit prices were insane. So everyone, that was kind of neat. There was no plastic trash, and all the bottles were returned because they were so expensive. So that was great. And as I think I told you, there was one of my huge disappointments when I came back to the village. I would say it was probably 2005, right? So I was gone for a while, and I saw plastic bottles, those 2-liter plastic bottles everywhere. So people now buying in plastic bottles like beer or pop, drinking and throw it away. So same people that kept all the glass bottles to return started throwing away plastic, so that the whole my village area was always pristine and clean. I was just trashed, and I was quite disappointed because I was like, wow, all it took, you know, as a Soviet people, we weren't like environment friendly. We just were so poor, and deposit prices were so high that we collect every bottle. Like even some drunk will forget the bottle, you'll pick it up, take it home, and return for 20 kopecks because you can buy a loaf of bread for 20 kopecks. So that was a lot of money. So recycling was huge because it was just so expensive. You can't afford to just let those bottles go. Every glass bottle, every jar had deposit price: 10 kopecks, 15 kopecks, like Pepsi Cola. I don't have Soviet Pepsi Cola bottles, unfortunately. There's another thing. I was trying to get it, but there's so much money in America, even empty ones. But that was 15 kopecks. So yeah. And then it get really trashy after all that disappeared. All right, so the last question. How was the text of the song Karabeniki in communist proved morally superior Soviet perceived? I'm not sure what song you're talking about. I mean, we had a bunch of songs that were quite, were not like, there were songs that are performed on TV and radio, and there were songs that people are singing, uh, on the guitars near campfires or hanging out during the parties. So there was some dirty songs. Uh, and I said, like Vysotsky, I never liked him because I hated his voice and the way he was singing. Then later, I started listening to what he was singing, actual lyrics, and I was like, oh wow, he's so good. Some songs were like so funny, you actually laugh. But Tetris song, no, I not in the video games. So yeah, I don't know even the Karabeniki. I'm sure it was. I thought it was a Kalinka Malinka. It's a Kalinka Malinka. It's not a Karabeniki song. If it's a Tetris, but I said I watched that movie. That was pretty good. But anyway, so yeah. when it comes to computers and computer games, unfortunately, I'm not the guy to talk to. It's I'm not really much experience there, except I remember sending first email in like 1992 from Moscow to United States, and I was whoa whoa whoa, that was amazing. So yeah, I looked at it. There's a comment. I looked at the Soviet Pepsi bottles, and I thought they were ridiculously overpriced comparing to other glass bottle of the era. Yeah, I periodically check Facebook Marketplace. I mean, they're asking like $5 or $10 just for the label, and then a bottle like somebody was trying to get $50 for full bottle of Pepsi from 1980s. I was like, nah, it's cool, but not cool enough yet to actually spend money. Probably can find something in Ukraine cheaper, but then you have to bring it here. So, anyways, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining tonight. It was kind of laid back. Not a lot of people showed up, but we had a good conversation. I appreciate your donations. As I said, my next video will be about Pavlov money reform. I'll start working on it tonight. Hopefully, in a couple of days, we'll be ready. So, once again, thank you for supporting my work. Thank you for watching Ushanka Show. I will go through your comments. If I see some good questions, maybe I'll make a separate quick video. Otherwise, I'm losing my voice. Hour and a half talking, and I'm losing my voice. So, anyways, thank you so much for joining me tonight, and have a good night.